From the Wayne County Courthouse in Goldsboro, North Carolina, Wayne Goldsboro Television brings you the meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. The meeting begins shortly with an agenda briefing, then the regular meeting will begin soon after. Please stand by for the Wayne County Board of Commissioners meeting.
Good morning. We're here at our 8 o'clock meeting to discuss our agenda, our pre-agenda meeting. In going through that, we'll have the invocation by Chaplain Bill Boyd with the Marine Corps League. Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Gurley. Approval of the minutes for January the 5th. Discussion and adjustment of any agenda, any adjustments on
We've got two things we'd like to add to the agenda, and we will need a closed session as well. The additions are, we'd like to walk on the bids for the 3 ambulances. And Marcia, did they all get a copy of this? Okay. Okay. And on that, you have 2 options. Either one works. The low bid, as we said at the bottom of the page, the lowest bid is Northwestern Emergency Vehicles. They're at $128,950. The difference between the lowest bidder and the second lowest bidder is $700 per ambulance. Normally, you would go with the lowest responsible bidder. However, you may take into consideration the possible additional cost in travel time for warranty work or repairs for the ambulances. Northwestern is 4 hours from Goldsboro. It's in West Jefferson, and Falkland is about 45 minutes away. So I'm recommending that you go with the second low bidder because of the travel time involved on any warranty work or any services that we would need on those vehicles. I think the $700 savings would be more than eaten up with that over a period of time. So that's the recommendation on that. These are lower than what we've been getting them in the past. We've been piggybacking, and we felt like we had piggybacked for several years, that we needed to go out for a bid on it because we were writing other people's bids. And so these prices are better than what we've been getting.
We're going to be adding that to new business?
That would be new business, so that would be
Item 6.
Item 6.
Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah. Then the next thing we'd like to add to the agenda, if y'all are in agreement, is we had several of us went down to Brunswick County and looked at their brand new 911 center. And when I say brand new, they literally are putting the electronic equipment in place as we were there. But the recommendation is to authorize us to negotiate an architectural contract with Stewart Cooper Newell to study 5 options on a 911 center and design the selected option. The people who went on the trip are Wayne and Joe. They are our facilities committee. We did advertise that. We also took Tommy Burns because he supervises that operation. We took Brian Taylor, who's over the 911 center, Mel Powers, and Kendall Lee, and then there was one more, Daniel Wiggins, who is one of the key people in the 911 center. So all in all, we took about 9 people, everybody that's involved in some way with the 911 center, and of course Kendall, because he's over the facilities committee, over the facilities maintenance. So with that, we had a very good tour of their facility. Stewart Cooper Newell had sent us a blow-up copy of the floor plan on it, so we knew before we went what we were looking at. But we toured that in depth. The lieutenant who was over that from the Sheriff's Department, I thought was extremely nice to do that for us. I guess we spent over an hour in that building. Then they have a separate EOC building, and so since that was not included in this, and we might be doing that, we asked if we could see that as well. So we also toured that, but it's all in one big complex in Bolivia, or Bolivar, however they say that, Bolivia. So the 5 recommendations, the committee and all of us, all 9 of us discussed it, and the possibilities we want them to study, and this would be similar if you recall when we hired Mosley Architects. I think we had 3 potential sites on the jail. One at that point was the old prison, and then we had 2 sites that the county was looking at. What we'd like to do here is have them look at 5 possibilities. Number 1 is to renovate the 2 buildings in front of the facilities office and possibly add on to that. Number 2 is to renovate the facilities office, but if we do that, then we relocate them to another location. Number 3, renovate the existing brick building at facilities at the tower site. Number 4 would be to build a new building on county-owned land behind the animal shelter. It would be between the facilities, offices, and then the animal shelter. There's a large wooded area there, and the county owns all that property. And then number 5, we also own property that's wooded adjacent to where our cell tower is, between there and the funeral home that's in the front of that. And that's a wooded lot there. It could also go there. So we would, number 5 would be build a new building on county-owned land adjacent to our communications tower at Facility Services. So we'd like to, if y'all are in agreement with that, to move forward with hiring the architect to study those 5 options, give us a recommendation, and then move forward with that. As y'all know, we are facing a July 1 deadline to have a backup PSAP, but our problem is we need a new PSAP because we've outgrown it. But by putting it in that location, there'd be enough separation that it would, that the current one would serve as our backup PSAP. And under state law, as long as we are making progress towards getting it, we don't have to be through July 1. So by moving forward with the architect, we would be in compliance with that, and moving forward with dealing with the overcrowded 911 center that we have. As y'all recall, we have 6 seats there, and we don't have room to add a 7th. So as the call volume goes up, we're going to be in a fairly bad predicament if we don't move forward with this. So with that, does anybody have any questions on that? And it might be good to hear from the commissioners who went. Just give
I think it was a real, Mr. Chairman, I think it was a real good trip. I was impressed with their operation. They are in a little different situation than we are. I think he told us that in 4th of July, their population tripled from what it is this time of the year. You know, and so therefore, you know, ours is pretty much steady year round. But I was impressed with their operation, and I'm just looking forward to moving forward on this project because, like you say, we're kind of crunching for time now, for more reasons than one. You know, our 2 facilities are too close together, and we're out of room. And I think by what we've already been through and the people we've talked to, it's going to be not impossible, but very expensive to try to make where we're at work. I mean, it's just very difficult to not wall it down and move, and so I think the best alternative we've got is to look at either partially renovating something or building new. I mean, and keep in mind, this is the pulse of the county. I mean, everything that goes on in Wayne County when it comes to law enforcement, fire, EMS, and other agencies, this is the pulse of the county. This is the heartbeat of the county that we're talking about. And I feel like we need to. I think this board has been real good in not only for today, but going out 20 years. And I think that's what we need to do on this, is is, let's go ahead and fix it for 20 years. I mean, this board won't be here, but there will be a board here that will have to, contend with it in the future. And if we can get something that we can add on to, add seats on to, or consoles on to for the next 20 years, I think we'll be very beneficial to the county. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioner Marty.
I suppose that the sites that you listed, and I guess you would bring back to us, if they didn't satisfy the distance requirement. When I heard us talk about this before, the site was somewhere near Greene County. I mean, you thought about some distance site because of the distance that I perceived at that time that they need to be separated.
Ed, we did, but they don't have to have that much separation. What that's about is, it needs to be on a different electric circuit, and it needs to be on a different telco circuit. And I think this meets both those criteria. The other criteria that it meets is, you'll notice that all of these are near the tower site. And that was one of the issues, as you recall, when we were looking at the property on Cashwell. With this, we won't need an additional tower of a great height or anything. We will need a small tower, but it won't be anything like what we were looking at. It's line of sight, and we might even bury the fiber. So, because that tower is very close to all of these properties. In fact, on 2 of them, it's adjacent property.
So, if the original site that I heard some time ago would have been used, you'd have put up a different tower?
Yes.
Well, I guess that might put a little bit of a crink in the thought. I want to share with you, since we own the property at the industrial park in Mount Olive, that might be an ideal site since we already have the land. I make that official thought there, rather.
Well, and I think what we're attempting to do here is just simply select the architect and allow him to go ahead and do some studying, is all we're doing here.
Right.
And then we can have more discussion once he comes back with some of his recommendations.
But to answer your question is, the reason all 5 of these are around the facilities is, it's not the facilities building, it's the tower. It needs to be close into that tower. That'll save us quite a bit of money. So that's why we're looking at these. Sure. And for the obvious reason, we own all of these. There's no additional land cost.
Well, and that's why I brought up the Mount Olive site, since it's in the industrial park and it's owned by the county. It might be something that the neighborhood might enjoy.
All right, so what we're doing is just adding that as item 7 in regards to a motion to select the architect. Go
And
ahead.
so you, and I want to back up a minute too, because it's been many months ago, but we did go through an architect selection process on this. So we've already gone through an RFQ on this, and we narrowed it down to Stewart Cooper Newell, but we never moved forward with the project yet. But they were the choice. So this would be to authorize me to negotiate with them, because they were the choice.
All right, and then moving on, there no other adjustments to the agenda.
There's no other adjustments, but we will need a closed session. We have 2 items on that.
Okay. Then the appointment committee, we do have some appointments. At 9:15, we'll be having our public comments. At 9:30, we're having public hearings. There are 2 of those. First one is the proposal to name the service road off of US Highway 70 west to Emmett Neal Road. Thank you, Mr. Crumpler.
How you doing?
Fine.
Yes. The county received a request to name this new service road, Emmett Neal Road, back sometime. It went to the planning board. The road extends from NC 581 south to Community Drive, and it was constructed due to the US 70 bypass project. The closure of access to those properties to the eastbound lanes of those between those points created this new service road. The new road is approximately 1.6 miles in length and contains approximately 14 addresses. Most of those are businesses. We did receive some objections. We copied you. I think you have copies of those. We also received another road name petition. so that is on the table that we have received. We had, prior to the naming of the Emmett Neal, or receiving the Emmett Neal request, we had gone and talked to several property owners and tried to get a petition started and was not successful in getting anything started that route, so. But now we have received a second petition since this public hearing has been advertised. Hearing was advertised in the newspaper. Property owners and the residents were notified by first-class mail, and signs were posted at each end of the road as required.
And if I might make a recommendation, that is, this is a public hearing as such, and it might be well that we not take any action on that today, that we just simply have the public hearing, hear the public input on that. Our second public hearing will be a proposed revisions to the ordinance regulating the operation and maintenance of solar energy facilities in Wayne County, North Carolina.
Yes, sir. Response from the Board of Commissioners. We took a look at the solar ordinance. This has been a while back. We made recommended changes. We kind of aligned our county solar ordinance to match up to the North Carolina model solar ordinance. We added in the abandoning and decommissioning statements. We changed the definition of a residential area. We added also in there, we had in airport notification previously, but we adopted the language that the NC model ordinance uses, requiring notification of Seymour Johnson and the municipal airports both. If they request additional information, they may request a solar glare hazard analysis. This is an advanced engineering model that the developers have to prepare and submit to the airports, but only if the airports request it. So it eliminates any unnecessary work by the developers wording it that way. And that is pretty much, and we took care of the abandonment and decommissioning statements and as requested.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Crump? If not, we're going to go to unfinished business. Was there any unfinished business? No, none at this time. Under the consent agenda, we have the establishment of a public hearing on March the 1st at 9:30 a.m. to receive public comments on proposed Wayne County zoning map amendments for highways and interchanges for U.S. Highway 70 West, the new U.S. Highway 70, NC 44, Interstate 795, and U.S. Highway 117, and a work session on February the 16th. Mr. Wood, or Chief, Mr. Crump, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry, you remained.
Yes. This basically is a proposed zoning / rezoning. Most of it is a rezoning except for the west US 70 corridor. It's basically zoning around the highway, 300 feet of each side of the highway. Vacant land was zoned commercial. If it was an existing residential area, it was zoned R residential. If it was kind of a mixed use, we used the village district because that's a mixed use district. Most of it ended up being commercial. This captured the interchanges around the new NC 44 US 70 addition. It addressed the zoning around those interchanges. Most of that was all commercial. Public hearing will be required to make this map amendment. Wayne County Planning Board recommends that it be approved. They studied it. They take it under consideration, and they make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners that it be approved as drawn.
Just a quick comment, if I might, and that is, my understanding is we already have zoning in place currently. It's just a matter of amending the zoning ordinance. Is that correct?
With the exception of US 70 West to the county line, there was no zoning in place there. That is outside of the airspace control surface area for Seymour.
Sure.
If it was inside that airspace control surface area, we have zoning in place already. So most of this was already zoned. It's a simple rezoning, except for the map that says West US 70 Highway proposed zoning.
All right, and all we're doing here on the consent agenda is just establishing the public hearing. No vote or no action on that.
Correct.
We're just We're just establishing the public
Yes,
hearing.
sir.
Any questions of Mr. Clover?
I'd like to go back to the roads if he's finished.
Sure.
I just need to ask the question.
Sure, Commissioner Bell. We're gonna let,
The Emmett Neal Road and the Isaac Smith, is that the same road that,
They're
There's a conflict there?
proposing 2 names for the same road, yes.
and how do we settle that without?
The public hearing is existing on the Emmett Neal Road. If you want to consider the Isaac Smith, my recommendation is to take no action or turn it down and resend it back to the planning board for their review.
and let them negotiate it out.
Yeah, I was just, thinking about the conflict there, you got two different
Sure, sure.
groups there.
Well, in addition, there's a third name that has come to me. So,
Is it Joe Gurley Road?
That's what I reckon.
I'm not gonna take part in that one. But I will ensure you get that third name as well.
Okay, I will.
All right, so, and then under budget amendments,
Good morning.
good morning.
We have a budget amendment for the library, $135. This is to appropriate donations received.
That's on page 51, is that correct? Yes. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir, it is. We have a budget amendment for $750 for the library. This is to appropriate grant monies received for the library. We also have one for, you'll see it as two amounts, $18,170.99 and $8,210 for the sheriff's department. This is to appropriate monies from the sale of vehicles on Gov Deals. The next one is for $2,705 for the sheriff's department. That one is also for monies received from the sale of vehicles on Gov Deals. For the health department, $1,500. This is one-time grant monies received for our dental program. For our health department, $20,000. This is to appropriate funds awarded by the state for our maternal and child health program. You have for the sheriff's department, $33,000. This is to appropriate seized property monies for the purchase of a dive team truck and equipment. For 4-H, $1,050 to appropriate monies received from NC State for payment of youth award scholarships. For the library, $50 to appropriate donations received. For WCDA, $9,633.10. This is to appropriate funds to disperse monies to Georgia Pacific according to our performance agreement we have in place with them. For the sheriff's department, $6,423.01 to appropriate insurance proceeds. For the health department, $14,022 to appropriate additional TANF monies received. And for the sheriff's department, $1,439.04 to appropriate insurance refund.
Okay, does anybody have any issues with any of the budget amendments? Hearing none? Oh, go ahead. Commissioner Acott.
Open a can of worms, but the one from the sheriff department for the vehicle and dive equipment, I'd like to have a little bit of clarification on that one.
If we can we just pull that particular one out?
Yeah, we'll pull that now. We'll have
Pull that
Larry,
one
you
out.
wanna get Larry?
I mean, I'm not saying I'm against it, I just like to.
No, we'll have him come in and explain it.
Okay.
You wanna give him the.
All right, so we're going to leave the remaining budget amendments on there, but we are pulling that particular budget amendment out, which is Budget Amendment 264, and we will have that under new business. We can under item 8. Okay, going to new business, the North Carolina Department of Transportation will make a presentation on the street assessment process. And I believe Giles will be here.
That's right,
for
we'll
that.
have Giles Harrell here to talk about that.
All right. And that is simply a presentation as such, open for discussion of questions and so forth that you may have with the Department of Transportation. Item 2 is the Wayne County Board of Elections presentation. Again, a presentation from,
Dane Beavers.
thank you, Dane Beavers. We'll be making a presentation on that, on the need for poll workers, the calendar for the primary election, and the voter identification law.
And again, that requires no action, that's just a presentation by him.
Item 3, we will need a motion to approve modification of public comment portion of the agenda. Mr. Wood, if you'd go through that.
Yeah, basically, the recommendation is to modify it to include signing up to speak 45 minutes before the meeting and basing time limit on agenda or non-agenda items, or non-agenda comments.
Is there any
And it
questions?
would be basically if you had, if it was related to the agenda, you'd get 4 minutes. If it was not related to the agenda, you'd get 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I see I want a clarification. On page 71, it says 10 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're correct. We changed that. 45, we thought 45 minutes was too long.
I agree.
So it's 10 minutes, because that, most people would be here 10 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah, and that's more friendly to people that work.
Yeah,
That's
I was
taken
going by
off.
the notes here, but it's
Okay.
what's written in the policy. It would be
Okay.
10 minutes.
All right, thank you.
all right, any other questions or comments on that? If not, we're going to move on to item 4, which is approving a resolution of support of Connect NC Bond Act. That's on page 73 of the agenda.
Yeah, this is simply a resolution. We patterned it after one that North Carolina Economic Developers Association passed. It's just saying that we endorse the bond referendum, and it's noting that specific to Wayne County, the Wayne Community College would receive $5,800,000 from the bond issue for building improvement projects, and that includes the Advanced Manufacturing Center as well as renovations. So that's the primary benefit to Wayne County. There are other benefits to agriculture. There are indirect benefits to us. NC State is building about, if they get it, is building about a $110 to $120 million brand new agricultural research building there on the campus.
All right, is there any commissioner who would like to read the resolution and make the motion? If not, Mr. Wood, we'll let you read the
Okay.
resolution.
I'll be happy to do it.
Item 5 is the motion to approve job reclassifications in emergency medical services. Mr. Burns.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If you look at page 74 in your agenda packet, this is kind of part 2 of the job reclasses for this fiscal year. At your last meeting, you approved the reclasses for the Sheriff's Department. The cover memo just kind of details where we're trying to get these salaries. We did a pretty thorough salary study, and we looked at several areas. One, we looked at counties of similar size, and then the second piece was we looked at the adjoining counties where we've been losing medics to. And so the proposed reclassification would take the paramedic grade from 65 to 67 with a beginning salary of $33,726. That's pretty well right in line with Johnson County. We've also lost some to Wake, but we just felt like for the regional market, that kind of skewed our averages. So we tried to stay just directly adjoining Wayne County. And then from there, the salaries step up. A paramedic preceptor, that's kind of like our field training officers that you would have in the Sheriff's Department. The lead medic positions, those are like usually the most experienced medic on the shift, aside from the shift supervisor or the QRV medic. And then you can see as it progresses up from there. We feel like that this will make our EMS staff more competitive salary-wise. One thing to note, we did put an emphasis on the paramedic level of care. There's no proposed adjustments for basic or intermediates, because our goal is to get all of our emergency medical professionals to the paramedic level. That provides a higher level of care in the county. Paramedics are able to do more things medically on the scene than basics or intermediates. And I think that was one of the goals in our department, was to move to that higher level of care throughout our department. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you on that. But again, we put the emphasis on just the paramedic level and up in that department. So it's about 53 positions, I think, that would be
Okay, do
affected.
the commissioners have any questions?
Just one question. The paramedic level
Commissioner.
is the one that we have problems with turnover because they become more
Yes.
valuable as they go up
Yes,
the ladder.
yes,
I figured
yes,
that's what it was. Thank you.
And you.
Commissioner Aycock.
And excuse me, your employees below the paramedic, this gives them an incentive to get their certification up to paramedic. This is,
That's right.
Okay.
How soon,
Mr. Gurley.
effective date?
Effective date would be March 1st on this one, as it was on the sheriff's office reclasses.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll take that action at our regular meeting.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we've added item 6, which is a motion on the ambulances, 7, selection of architect, and 8 is the budget amendment. Okay. Then we've got county manager's comments, board of commissioner comments. We do have a closed session at noon. We, of course, will be going to the Wayne County Farm Bureau's insurance office. We're going to recess that meeting prior to going to the lunch. We will then come back at 2 o'clock for a coal ash work session. Am I correct that we are recessing that meeting, Mr. Parker?
I think you need to recess it, but you will still be to go.
Okay, all right. Okay, with that in mind, do I have a motion that we go into closed session?
So moved.
And we're going into closed session for,
Require the property and consultant need to reserve perpetuity.
okay, got a motion to go into closed session. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. And we're going into closed session.